Hello team, welcome. So today we are going to start our live sessions on the data science. So here we will read each and every detailed concepts about the data science, whether they are belonging from the some statistical programming, some basics of the computer programming like Python or Julia, and complex programming of machine learnings, supervised unsupervised learning, and even going for the deep learning and artificial intelligence, neurons and everything. So team, we'll start today with the basic introduction to the data science, and where we want to know, like, data science is really a very big buzzword from last 2 years in the industry, that what exactly the data science means, what exactly is an expectation from the industry, why even industries should go for the data scientists, and like how they can help them, then what is actually the real responsibility of a data scientist to help in achieving the goal of the company and the organizations. So let's start today's session as an introduction to the data science. So as the topic is the data science, let's start with the data, what basically the data is. So it's all about the data now. So data, we'll discuss about in the terms of the data. So advantages business had realized from the data in the last decade. So if you see for the decade, so there are 4 types of benefits, and even if you take an average, so average like 63% of the businesses has understood that data will help them to make a good business relationship between them and their clients, so they can better understand their clients. The second big part is like they have the huge revenue generation opportunities, like they can find out like which decision they should make on time based on the historic pattern and the data decisions. At the same time, like 63% of people has find out like that it's really help in identifying the minus points of a business, and like they can find out where the risk is, and even they can avoid the risk, or they can well manage that risk and those patterns using the data science. The third or last and foremost point is like the improving the service and provide the customers. So again, like we'll just take an example of how this Amazon is doing nowadays. So if you take with the Amazon or any of the global platform, like all the OTT services like the Hotstar, G Live, Sony Premium, everything. So they have one basic landing page. So whenever you log into the Amazon, it will tell you, the first time when you log into the Amazon, it will just tell you about some simplistic things which is available on their platform. But as soon as you are keep searching about the patterns or your daily need things, then they also check and match that the people who have purchased this, what they have purchased anything else. They found out some patterns, they find some relations, and based on that they have started providing you the suggestion on your very first page. So now onwards, like the moment when you are logging to your Amazon, like Amazon knows that what are your needs. Okay, so he will definitely suggest you basis on those parts. So these are the things by which like companies has already understood like how they can make the profits out of it. Like you can keep on suggesting your customer, like he doesn't need to search, he doesn't need to make more clicks on the websites, he can get everything readily available on his first page or on the first view. But still, like when the 63% of the industries has understood like what is the benefit, or what is the like the game or the benefit out of the data for their industry, at the same time there are some challenges also which they are facing. So we have come up with the 4 most challenges, and here again you can take the example. So the average will be around 44% of the average. So what it's coming as like that, the people, first thing is like there is no one to take the ownership of the data. So there are the companies rather than the bank who has taken note of your each and every transaction and they have stored it, because it's the all businesses around that. But if you see about the telecom companies, like the many more businesses like the hospitals and everyone, they are filing the data. Okay, they are keeping the record of every time, they are keeping record of how many people has done with the blood test. But if you go and ask them that can I have the everyone's blood test report, I want to see some patterns and some type this, then the most of the data you will not find it like it's readily available or something. They will ask you that you can go to the our store keeping room and you can just go and find it out there. But only reason about it is like they didn't give their focus to the data. They preliminarily they weren't understanding that the data is really a key point which can help you out to achieve your goals in this new era. But so the point is like the many of the organization where the people or the interdepartments are not have taken actually the ownership of the data. So no one was responsible for the data, so they doesn't care that they are having the historical data or not. So that's a big challenge for the industries. At the same time, the second challenge is like some people had that data, but now that may be in the written form, that may be in some old type of data collection methodology. So now even like they doesn't have the proper infrastructure to manage that data, correct? Some people has even managed the data, but now they are facing an issue that like they were collecting data, they were storing data somewhere, but as they were more no mean to understanding the data, they were just collecting it for some purpose, maybe to avoid some type of penalties and all. So they were like happily collecting the data. That was their foremost maybe what I can say is like the priority. So they have collected data, they have maintained the data somewhere in a good infrastructure. That's also a good point about them. But where they are lagging in an industry is like they never thought that the data which is being collected, is it good or not. So many times like they are facing that there is no data, there is some null data points, the data is coming is wrong, some device gone rogue. They were just checking, yeah, is it giving something? Yeah, it's giving something, but what it is giving, is it a qualitative data? No one cared about that. So most of the industries are struggling, like they have collected data, managed data, but the data is not accurate. Now going with the first step, the type of challenges which the industries are facing, that's like the companies has the data now, but they trying and solving the data also, like they somehow they figured out the correct data or some quality data out of it, but still like due to their misconceptual understanding about the data science, or maybe they're not a proper goal or the proper problem statement, they fail to generate the outcome. Correct. So these four types of problems are available right now in the industry. But yeah, it's a good point like that when the 60% plus industry has understood the power of the data, definitely people and at the higher level of the business are also giving an emphasis on the data collection, data accuracy, data quality, quantity, like their management and each and every aspect. So we can hope that now the data will be good, and also like it increased the responsibilities of the data scientists as well. So now let's understand another facts of the data, like what has been happened till yet so far. So there are a lot of companies which we can understand, like there the data has very importance, like the electricity board, they should have the data because they are giving you the bills, they should have the each and every data and records. The company should have the records of their financial statements and everything, like they also have to go with some external audits every year. So it's been seen that every one organization out of 10 has been penalized because of the data issues. Okay, so they doesn't have the proper data, so that lead them to financial penalties in some aspect. 73% of people says that the data is significant for developing the business strategies, which is really correct. So data science is not only about making some models or finding that like someone will have the cancer or not. The data science, the actual point is like helping a business to understand that which decisions that company should make to have a more profit in that limited time or with the limited resources, or what type of like the steps or the strategies we should follow. So it's basically called as a data driven decisions. So as this word starts with the data, so that's all the things. So that's why like this data is a really essential thing with the company. Coming with another point, like that the 52% of the businesses don't have a specific data management budget. So they are collecting data, but they haven't allocated a budget in their planning to store the data and keep it safe somewhere, or like providing it a different type of what we say that the security levels and the quality and quantity check and everything. So that's another issue. Now coming with the 41% of people say that they don't have the responsible for the data management. So that's the same kind of issue which we discussed earlier. Coming to this part, like the 50% of the leaders believe that the business won't survive without the top quality data. If you know what it means is like that. So the top companies of the world, like if you select the Amazon, if you select the Facebook, if you select this Microsoft company, so all these companies have understood like that the data is going to be a kind of oxygen for the companies or the businesses to survive in going forward in the future. The reason is, if you see for the Amazon, like I have given you an example, like how they are using your historical data to provide you the better suggestion on every time. So it's definitely attracting its customers, and the customer will become loyal with that. So there will be a long-term relationship between the business and the customer. So that's what the agenda of Amazon is. They always say it like the customer is king. At the same time, like if you see for the Microsoft, so Microsoft has started, like if you go with the presentations now, so presentation doesn't take a lot of time. It started giving you the design ideas. So they have seen the lot of people who are preparing the presentations online on their web portal. Then they have extracted those designs out of it, and now they are pretty sure that if you have write the title, then this title should be of what pattern, how should be its background. So everything, like you can just ask Microsoft, and it will prepare and stylish slideshow for you even. And so these are the things. So that's how like they are making users life easy, and we all know that the people are very happy if they are getting something very conveniently. So that's how like they are building a good relationship with their end users, and that will only the part which will lead them to the like a good holder in the future. Like their company will survive, and that will be there. So to beat them, definitely like or even for their own streams, they can also become the pioneer by having the top quality of data. That's what I think they want to make it clear out here. Now going with our next slide, which is the introduction to the data science. Now we have talked more about that, what was the data and what is actually the need of the data or the data science. Now let's understand what is basically the data science or the data scientist is. So we have total three types of streams, or three types of major partitions of this combination. So one thing is that the computer science or the IT, which majorly belongs from the soft computing skills. Now the secondary part is about the maths and the statistics, which is like understanding the math and all this concept, majorly like the calculus and the probabilities. And the third part is your domain or the business knowledge on which you are working. So if you are from the medical research, you are finding out some of the diseases pattern, definitely you should have the knowledge about that particular domain. If you are from the banking, finding out the financial things, you should be having that way. If you are forecasting some sales data, you should have known that what about the sales, what are the products, and all those basic terminology. So what happens is, like when you connect the software science with the domain expertise, so this type of combinations usually create the softwares, maybe the ERP type of system and something like that, because there the formulas are already driven by the business domain knowledge, and they are just converting those formulas to computing. Like most of the work is like preparing the automation or something like that. At the same time, like when you involve the domain with the mathematics, they becomes a good kind of the research holders, maybe some PhD holders or something like that, who are very depth in knowledge, and they understand each and every minor aspect of that business of the companies. So they are also helping in their terms. At the same time, when you connect the computer science with the mathematics, and here you may be surprised that why the machine learning is beyond this data science here. The reason is like machine learning also has one branch which we call the unsupervised learning, where we usually do the clustering and all. So I'm just throwing an example here right now. It may be very different for the beginner, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. So what happens is, like suppose a company came and it has a lot of like the call center data. Okay, if they have the call recordings of the call center, so without knowing who called, they called about what patterns, what they were discussing, are they about the product or the service. It doesn't matter. It's really not required if it's unsupervised learning, and we just need to create the cluster out of it. So we can just create the 3 or 4 some different groups of customers or the clients based on their talks, correct? So and then we can provide them as a category also, like that this belongs to very low category and this is very high category, or the positive category, which will never leave you or which will actually promote you. So those types of things can be done using machine learning. So that's why like the domain is not always that much important for the machine learning. But yeah, if you now involve all these 3 aspects, like you should be having a research mindset, you should have knowledge of the machine learning concepts, you should have the good hand in the soft skills, then only you can become a data scientist. Now as we have talked about the domain and knowledge, so that's definitely be like we'll have to learn the moment when we join some specific projects, or we can Google, we can have some Wikipedia, or we may have some authorized persons whom we can get this knowledge. So our main focus will be on the 2 parts, which is the computer science and the mathematics and the statistics part. So let's start with the computer science and things. So it's just again an introduction. So yep, these are the things. So We have the R, we have the math, we have the MATLAB, Python, Julia, Octave, and Scala. So these all are the popular programming languages which are being used for doing all these types of machine learning work or the data science works preferably. So what these things are and why so many? Okay, so I'll make you understand. So first time when someone talked about the AI, that was 1952, and now you will be really surprised then if it was invented in 1952, then how suddenly it becomes as a buzzword. So the AI or these things majorly becomes on the neuron and machine learning concept. They really require the huge data. Huge data also comes with the problem of handling of huge data as well as processing of huge data. So first thing, collecting the huge data. Second thing, maintaining that huge data. And third thing, that processing that huge data. These all three things were missing till yet. The moment this graphics card comes, the Google like created some TPUs, and a lot of things has happened in the history, like in this electronic sensors, like we have turned from the vacuum tubes to the VLSIs now, and now maybe something more advanced. I don't know about hardware part. So now we have the processing speed. Second thing, at the same time, like now each and every people is having a mobile, which is a very good source of the data collection. So the lot of data is available on the digital platform. So what we are thinking is like it's getting almost double every month now or every year. Okay, so that's how like you can identify the speed of the data, which is increasing the day by day. So handling those of data and amount, that was the point which has been resolved. So now if we start discussing, the MATLAB was the program which is really an old program for doing the good statistics modeling or the machine learning modeling even that has the Simulink model. So the MATLAB was a very high RAM consuming. It requires a lot of like a very good computer to use it on some parts. And second thing, it was a bit what you can say, a complex program which wasn't that much easy to understand for a computer software background even, because it's not related like the Java or some C. So then people started developing the R programming language. What R programming language was? R programming language was especially developed for the statistics mathematical modeling. So R was really good. It's being used globally with a lot of people under the data science community. Now the only drawback again came as like people were good, they created some models, but now how you will use it, as it's statistic modeling programming, it has a very limited source, so you cannot connect it with some other platform. Like when I say other platform, means like I have developed a model, and what if my end users aren't able to use it? So either I'll have to publish it on some website, or I'll have to make it like I'll have to connect it in the software. So the same way, like as we have suggested, Amazon is suggesting something, but on this, their suggestions are being shown on the websites again, correct? At the same time, the presentation part, correct? So the presentation ideas, the definitely ideas are generated using some background machine learning engines, but they are talking with the UIs, they are talking with the user interface, and they are providing the suggestion there. So that type of connection is not that good feasible for with the R. So then people moved with the Python. So Python is again it's a general programming language. It wasn't designed for the statistical programming and all, but yeah, it has really a good job or good percentage of area in the front end and back end, and even in the full stack softwares. So if you see, the good example is like your whole Instagram has been designed on the Python language only. So these are the parts. So Python, now when coming to the data science, it has been backed with the Google, with the TensorFlow, which is a very renowned name for the deep learning. At the same time, if you see, then the PyTorch, which is backed by the Facebook, that's also behind the Python. So Python has suddenly picked up the boom, and as it's very friendly with the talking with the Java, with the .NET, so it can be used to create a final tool that may be a software or maybe a web application. So that's how that the Python has picked up the boom. But now again, coming as a point, the data is again increasing every day, correct? We have reached to one optimum level of hardware limit. Now the Python is becoming slow on that existing hardware to process the huge amount of data. To resolve this, that the Julia program is now certainly coming as a boost. The Julia is not that new language, but yeah, definitely it's not that mature. But the good part is Julia is a scientific programming language again, but yeah, it has a good hold in the Java because it's being developed basically in the C and in the Perl language. So it's really way faster than the Python. So now the same amount of work can be done with the more speed on the same type of hardware compared to the Python. and also it's compatible to develop a final end-to-end product in that. Now moving to the next things about the buzzwords in the market. So you would have heard a lot of words like the data engineer, machine learning engineer, data scientist, junior data scientist, like the machine, look, that a lot of words. Okay, even people describes about the libraries. They say that the NumPy, pandas, matplotlib, seaborn, data mining, models, modeling, supervised learning, unsupervised learning. So there are a lot of words running in the market, but yeah, if we doesn't read it like it's also a science, ultimately, correct? So science should be read in a chain kind of mechanism where each chain is linked with the previous one. So we shouldn't directly jump to any of the point, and we cannot make sure that yeah, we have found out that how these things happens. So we'll go with this in one by one. But before going to do that, first we would have to understand that who exactly a data scientist is, or what a company can expect from their data scientists, correct? So there are some 5 major words which are running in the LinkedIn or in any job portal if you see. So first thing, people are asking for the statistician. It's an old word now. Now the machine learning engineer, deep learning engineer, computer vision engineer, and then artificial intelligence engineer. The more the higher company, the more the new stylish fancy words. Now when we say, okay, just let me know in simple words what exactly work you are doing, correct? Their work starts with the data engineering. Now what data engineering is? Something is generating data. Okay, that may be some IoT sensors, even your this smartwatch, it also generates the data. So collecting this data, storing it somewhere, creating those pipelines so that on a regular basis we can abstract the data. It may be live, it may be like the day basis or whatever the frequency which they have decided based on their project or their problem statement. So data engineer's job, or not only as a data engineer, the role of data engineer at the time is like the collecting the data, storing it somewhere in a proper manner. Then the second role comes as the data analyst. What data analysts are doing is their more of the job is doing the EDA, which is the exploratory data analysis part. And then what exactly this EDA does is like they take that historical data, they perform some cleaning and all kind of thresholding things, they check the hypothesis, okay, and then they find out what are the types of patterns they can find out in the history which had happened. Like the same equipment has failed several times, your motor is not running because of this types of failure, your same motor has failed 4th time in the year. So these different types of analysis and the charts they can come up with. Now when we have found out, so mostly they are helping you out in understanding your problem statement, which actually get narrowed after doing the EDA. So after that you may be requiring one out of these 5. Okay, so your program can be solved without machine learning. Yeah, that's true. Still, like a simple mathematical model even can resolve the issue without knowing the machine learning. But yeah, that's true. If you're finding some issue taking the help of the data, that are again fall in the lap of the data scientists only. Then based on the requirement, you may require the deep learning part, correct? You may also be like, it can be done using some conventional machine learning models like the linear regression, machine learning, like linear regression, polynomial regression, then clustering, classifications. Okay, then if it's a vision related issue, then definitely one person should select the computer vision, correct? Then if things are going some beyond, then definitely we can go and start with the artificial intelligence, like the Q3 and all those types of algorithms can be involved. So once the model has been built, now your again duty is to represent the data in the understandable format to your end user. That can be in terms of charts, PDF, Excel sheets, or nowadays maybe in terms of the BI tools, which are like the Power BI or the Tableau. So they all are the data visualization dashboards which can be used there. So now I hope you understood that who exactly a data scientist. A data scientist who is responsible for the gathering data from the available sources. Then after taking the data, collecting, they will analyze it. After analyzing, they will make a model out of it, and from the model they will finally visualize and they will represent the final report, correct? Now what is these 3 words, AI, ML and DL? So yeah, so artificial intelligence is a very broader umbrella. If everything which you are expecting that the machine has taken decision by itself, that becomes an artificial intelligence. So just for an example, even a simple if else part of a piece of function, if else, is itself is a type of an artificial intelligence, because when something randomly come, it helps that machine to take decision that either it should be true or false, correct? So that's also a type of artificial intelligence. Now taking it a more narrow, so narrow is like machine learning. When we doesn't know that this things is greater than 5 will be true or false for every case is correct. Then we started with the machine learning, which mostly works on some of the patterns and the non-linearity of the data. So with the non-linearity of data and finding out some specific patterns, like if there is some linear regression, logistic regression, random forest, some classification, clustering, lot of things. Okay, so those all things falls under the machine learning part, where we develop an algorithm. Actually, we develop a formula which will resolve the issue. So what actually happens is we provide them the question, we provide them the answers, and then it automatically find out the pattern between the question and answer. And then going forward, it prepare a model. So the model is actually the output. Now going forward, when you again push some new question to that model, it should provide the answer accordingly. Correct? So that's what is the machine learning. Now what is the deep learning is? So deep learning is an advanced form of machine learning if we talk. So deep learning is actually based on the neural networks, and it can even work with the non-linear data. So deep learning is basically creating the complex collections of neurons which are connected to each other, and they are trained in such a way so that they can provide answer same like a human brain, or almost like similar like a human brain. Definitely not as a whole brain, but the thousands or the numbers of, I'll say the numbers of neurons collected, and they built a model which can provide, like, I think the one piece of the brain, because it's still like the brain is a very huge part. So that was the machine and all these things is. Now let's discuss about what are the libraries which are really helping or backing up the new era of machine learning. So if you are talking about some of the audios or some of the text analysis, then we should go with the analytic engine. That's a Python analytic engine. If we talk about the deep learning, then we have the Google powered TensorFlow here. At the same time, we have the Facebook powered PyTorch here. And now the very good part, which is the Keras. So what Keras does is like, PyTorch has its own good things, like it can be a very good file for the visuals or for the images, and the TensorFlow is also very good for handling some types of a classification or the clustering type of parts. But a person cannot be understand again like the two different types of APIs and calling their functions. So they developed a Keras library. So Keras is again like a front end for the PyTorch, TensorFlow, or even in the Theanos. So you can learn that Keras, and then Keras backend can be changed, so the coding will not be changed. So it's similar like the Keras.dense layer which you are calling, and you are preparing one new dense layer. It doesn't matter like in the backend it's PyTorch or TensorFlow, it will create based on their backend libraries. Now what we are going to cover in this upcoming days on this stream. So yeah, tools which are going to be used. So we'll prefer the language Python, because Python is, as we discussed, that it's a general programming language, and right now the 70% plus industries are using this language for finding out or solving their company's problems. So it's good to be having the same language command. IDE is like the tool where we develop, where we write the code in the Python. So that can be the either like if you have the installed Python on your computer, you can use whatever the IDE which you prefer. You can go with the VS Code, you can go with the Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook, or even the Spider, even with the PyCharm, anything which you prefer. It's all your choice. But if you haven't installed the Python, or if you have working on some low grade computer, or even from the mobile, you can just go to the Google and you can find out this Google Colab. You can just pause here, you can like go to this URL, and it's actually a Google's rented server kind of thing, where you just require one Google Gmail ID, and it will create an instance for you which will be longer for around 8 to 9 hours, and you can go and you can do their job there. So they have the basic of the Python and some basic libraries installed there. Later on we'll discuss that how we can install more libraries even on the Google Colab or even on the local system. Topics what will be covered, like first we will go with the basics of the Python, like what are the basics of Python, the very different type of variables, how we write the codes in the Python and all. Then we'll go with the plotting of the graphs, because that's a very important part before reaching to the EDA. We'll even understand that what the meaning of the different types of graphs, when we should use what type of graph. Then we'll go with the EDA, which is the exploratory data analysis, which will help you out in clearing your data, or actually to keep it ready for the final model in precisely say. Then we'll go with the what is the supervised learning and what are the various points in that. Then unsupervised learning, what are the various aspects of that. Then we'll go at the end for the deep learning, that how we can create the neural networks, the different type of neural networks, and how we can use them. After that, it's not written here, but yeah, definitely we'll go with the time series models, then whatever the upcoming or whatever the latest thing which is coming in the market. So people, if you really like this thing that we can collect and together we can learn the machine learning and using the Python. So please support this video, share it with your friends, and to whoever who you think that is eagerly want to learn the data science and all. So very soon we will finalize one of the time, like we will be keep on coming up, like or either like you can comment or you can let me know that what is a good time to connect with you all, so we can have, I think, the alternate day or maybe 5 day a week when we can connect on the live stream. So we'll discuss every day one more new topic, and we'll start it from the scratch, understanding like a very good new person who even doesn't know the data science would be able to learn a data like will be become a data scientist or a good data scientist. So hope for the best, and please like, subscribe and share this video, because this will really motivate us to prepare more new videos like this. Bye, see you soon. We'll wait for your comments.